So that was little behind the scenes footage of my time in Antigua back in May. I do some work for an organization called CBN, and under CBN is another TV program called Turning Point International. But anyway, Turning Point International looks for stories all the time of people who have been transformed by the reality of God. One of those people is Tessa. And if you remember in a previous vlog, I talked about Tessa. As an example, today we're going to be telling the story of a woman who was paralyzed, could not walk, and God showed up. So anyway, without further ado, I wanted to share with you her story in full. And it was shot and edited, and it was amazing to be a part of capturing her story. And as someone who has been acquainted with cancer, with my mom dying of cancer, and actually the same cancer that this woman actually has been diagnosed with, it's really inspiring and encouraging to know that God is real and that He is bigger than even facing death, and that He works it out to fix us and to help us, not to harm us. So I hope you're encouraged, and here it is.
For 10 years, Tessa Bango got one bad diagnosis after the other. Things got so bad, her doctor called her dead woman walking. Take a look.
Meet Tessa Bango. Looking at her, one would never know for the last 12 years this former nurse has been battling for her life. That she's had 7 surgeries, 3 to remove tumors and to stabilize her spine. That she's been paralyzed. And if that's not enough, in 2014, she was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer, which spread to her liver.
When we first saw Tessa and we looked at her images, I had a few colleagues in the room, they all looked at me and said, "So when did she die?" I said, "No, she is actually still alive." He said, "Well, the smallest breeze could take this unstable spine and basically put her in respiratory distress. And that would be the end of Tessa." So literally, this was a woman who was walking on a minefield of cancer.
Tessa asked the Lord, why her?
So I've had those moments with the Lord. He said, "Why not you?" Then he reminded me of what Paul said, "My grace is sufficient for you." So I asked the Lord for the grace to go through this whole experience. I never asked why me again, because sometimes we don't know our strength. But God said, "He never give you more than you can bear."
Tessa's husband's faith was steadfast from the beginning.
Well, I know for sure that Christ would have helped us in some way. I didn't really know exactly how, but I keep my full trust in the Lord because He said, "Lean on Him," so I keep my full trust in God.
Although their faith was in God, there were many seasons of testing. Tessa recalls a difficult time while waiting to have her second surgery.
I ended up having a series of problems during that time. A wisdom tooth went bad during that time, so I had a locked jaw. At the time when I should be eating to strengthen myself, I could not eat. Then everything I eat or drink, I will have to drink it from a straw. Because of the paralysis on this side, everything will just drain out. If I use the cups, I had to use a straw. And I had to cut back my hair short for my husband and children to deal with it. I went down to skin and bones to the point where I had to be in Pampers, okay? And they would have, when I get up every morning, my husband will have to, do some exercises with my joints before I could really get out of bed to do anything. They will have to bath me, inside me.
Well, I pray for her every time, and I told her every time that I love her. And I think that is what really makes the difference. And I told her, continue trusting in the Lord.
When Tessa's best friend, Desma Sutton, saw her, she could hardly believe her eyes.
That point when I saw her, I really realized she was far gone. But still, I had no fear. Barely saw my way home. That's when I broke down. But I never, ever was in doubt, even through the tears, that Tessa wouldn't make it.
Many persons came to visit me, and some of them left crying because they said, no, God, I tell you, I was skin and bones, wearing Pampers, and for most persons, I look like a lost case, hopeless. But, you know, the whole situation strengthened my faith in God. And, you know, God made certain promises to me. And, you know, sometimes your faith wavers, so sometimes I have my down moments. And one day I was in my down moment, and the Lord said, but if I told you that I'm going to use this to minister to others, I said, yeah, okay, that means you will live. So I decided to hold on to God's promises.
Even her doctor didn't think she would survive. He called her a dead woman walking.
If you have recently seen Tessa, it is hard to believe that we called her the dead woman walking. But I assure you, when she walked in the first time and you look at her lab values and everything else, you should have been dead. We do not know why you're still here. We're very happy to report that. And I say it is an exception to the rule, but at the end of the day, these are the things that keep you going.
I know it's a fact that God still do impossible things today, because the situation looks to us in the natural impossible, but nothing is impossible with God.
Although cancer threatens to take her life, Tessa says that was the very thing that saved her soul.
If I had died when I was healthier, I don't think I would make it to heaven. I was going around with so much hatred and anger from things of the past, and resentment and condemnation. And God used this to empty me and free me of these things. And that is what is more important. Yes, it's good to have a healthy body, but why have a healthy body and go to hell?
According to doctors, Tessa currently has stage 4 colon cancer. But because her white blood cell count has been so low, she's been unable to take chemotherapy.
From since then until now, I have not had any treatment. When I went, I usually have to go for my checkup every 3 months. And late last year, when I went, doc said, if you do, it just might be a little tablet, because nothing has changed, everything is just the same. And physically looking at me, I'm not losing any weight, not having any problems, my hair's not falling out, nothing is happening. And then by the time I went back January of this year, he said, look, at this point, you don't need any treatment. So that is where we're at this point.
Not only has Tessa's story inspired me as a healthcare practitioner, Tessa inspires other patients. And it is to talking with my colleague, Dr. Tadia Smith, who has also been involved in the care of Tessa. She also volunteers at the hospice in end-of-life care. And Tessa has actually come to the hospice and shared her story with terminal patients, and they have taken great strength out of that.
I tell everybody who may be viewing this or hearing this, they could keep their trust in God. It might not almost work the way that they want it to work, but God is still in control of what's taking place inside of the world today.
So I wrote my first book. So in the waiting, that's what I'm doing, speaking, writing, and just using it as an encouragement to others, because that's what it's all about. We all go through hard times in life. Because no matter what you're going through, He can take you safely through it. You just have to trust Him. He will take you safely through it.